Imagine living in the middle of nowhere. You'd be all alone and likely without a fast line of communication. But all of that didn't mean anything to the person who decided to build these houses. They wanted serenity, quietness, or time alone in the world's loneliest houses. Until the creak of a floorboard or the flicker of a light is just the beginning of the frightening tales these locations have to tell. From the pair of suicide brides who took their lives in the same room decades apart, to the headless apparition of a famous royal, the dark histories behind these places are as spooky as they are beautiful. If you love a spine-chilling tale or are considering exploring isolated houses near you, you're in the right place. Today we have a simple video on the most secluded places in the earth to some of the creepiest remote locations. This list of strangest isolated houses will surprise you. Everyone can use some peace and quiet now and then. A camping trip or a weekend in a cabin in the woods can usually take care of that. Nothing sounds better to them than a house with no neighbors for miles in the middle of nowhere. For some people, this isn't just a fantasy, but their actual lives. Well, there's nothing like an abandoned house to get our imaginations racing. Monuments to the past, empty structures that witness history unfold, and their crumbling walls are steeped in spine-tingling secrets. Would you be brave enough to venture these languishing landmarks on a dark night? Let's check out some of the most isolated homes, towns, and buildings from around the world. Imagine you are there, alone, the cold winds and the sound of the waves amid the vast emptiness. Would you be excited or would you feel scared? Actually, Eltalai Island wasn't always deserted. More than 300 years ago, 5 families lived on the island of Eltalai. They built huts and lived there as a community. By the 1930s, however, the last residents had left the island. But later on, the island became associated with Bjork and abandoned the idea of making Eltalai one of her homes. In truth, she never lived there at all. While viewing the house from afar, one would think it's cold and uncomfortable, but the inner parts of the house are surprisingly cozy inside the world's loneliest house. For someone who loves cabins, this cozy little cabin is located in Serbia. It has a bit of a hard bottom, as it's situated on top of a rock in the middle of the Drina River. It has become famous all over the world thanks to a National Geographic cover photo taken by the Hungarian Irene Becker and published in 2012. It was built in 1968 by a group of young friends looking for a quiet and secluded place to build a retreat for sunbathing after a good swim. The home has been rebuilt 7 times after being destroyed by high water levels. Today, this small spot is a tourist destination who is intrigued by the particular history of the charming and stubborn little house that does not bend to the weather and the force of one of the most impetuous rivers in Europe. The Casa do Pinheiro, or Castle of Stone, is located near a mountain range in the northern region of the country, and was built between 4 giant stones originally found in the area in 1972. The structure soon attracted the attention of many curious travelers, forcing the owners to move elsewhere. Today, the Casa do Pinheiro is a small museum full of memorabilia and photographs of the history of the building and the beautiful surrounding landscapes. There is also a swimming pool outside and an open-air tank which also houses a natural shape of a large stone boulder. Those who love heights are more like their prized possession would envy the residents of Hermitage. The San Colombano Heritage in Italy is built halfway up a cliff face on an overhang about 120 meters high and is protected by a natural roof of rock. It was said that a young knight, Saint Colombano, arrived at this point of the ravine and killed a dragon that caused the death of children who were baptized in the Lino River. It was inhabited from 1319 and was used by monks and hermits until 1782, when the hermitage was abolished, then becoming a place of worship for the inhabitants of the valley below. Visitors can head up the 102 steps that are carved into the rock to see the cliffside clubhouse. From the most calm houses to places that have experienced lifetimes of occupants, as if hiding a secret that only the ghosts can relay. And in these eerie destinations, they just might clue you in. Take a tour of these stunning houses, restaurants, and hotels to see why visitors never want to leave, even after death. The historic Romanesque landmark, Driscoll Hotel in Texas, which was opened in 1886 by cattle baron Jesse Driscoll, has hosted many big-name celebrities and politicians throughout the years. It also has a well-known history of paranormal activity, following the deaths of several guests, including the suicide brides, 2 honeymooning women who took their own lives in the same room 20 years apart. This West Village restaurant is consistently rated as one of the most romantic in New York, and is set in the one-time carriage house of Aaron Burr. The eatery is reportedly haunted by upwards of 20 ghosts, including Burr and his daughter Theodosia. If you're on the hunt for some ghostly figures, you'll want to explore Kilkenny, Ireland. This city in Ireland has a storied past, filled with tragic events that allegedly left behind spirits that visitors still witness today. Kilkenny, located about 80 miles from Dublin, was the site of Ireland's first witch trial. Another tragedy struck in 1763, when 16 people drowned in the river after a bridge collapsed during a flood. Today, people report seeing creepy figures in the River Nore that rise above the mist in the early morning. Though the former fortress is flooded with tourists on a daily basis, the 900-year-old Tower of London is still one of the bloodiest places in Europe, built by William the Conqueror in 1070. The sprawling fortress is most famously known for the number of royal deaths that have occurred there, including that of Anne Boleyn, whose headless apparition is said to haunt the hollowed halls of the tower. Château de Brissac, France. This hauntingly beautiful castle with its gold leaf ceilings and opulent furniture hides a dark secret. Charlotte of France was murdered there after her husband found her cheating with one of his friends. Now, the young Charlotte is said to wander the castle, forever stuck there after her untimely death. Guests and staff report seeing her most frequently in the tower room of the castle's chapel, dressed in a green gown. What are some other cool, isolated places that you know of? Waiting for your answers in the comments below. Do not forget to subscribe and hit that like button so you can receive more interesting topics like this. Thanks for watching.